This is why you struggle to probe on your sales calls. And when I say probe, I mean digging deep with the prospect, catching things that they say so that you can ask questions based off of the new information that they're giving you. When I say probe, I don't mean just having your list of questions and going through them. That's, the problem with a lot of people's sales calls is they're so scripted. They're very, very focused on, let me just get through my list. And the prospect just feels like they're just being interviewed rather than having a discussion with someone who's trying to understand them on a deeper level so that they could help them or point them in the right direction, right? The reason why you're struggling to probe is because you just don't trust yourself. You're holding on to your frame too tightly. At least for most people that I've spoken to and reviewed their calls, one thing I've noticed is they're gripping on to that framework, or they're gripping on to that script. They feel like if they let go of the script, they feel like if they let their mind wander off of the frame and just be fully present on the person in front of them, instead of like, what's the next section and what's the next question, if they let their mind drift like that for a second, they think they'll get lost. They think they won't know how to bring themselves back. They do not trust kind of like their muscle memory. They don't trust their flow state in order to properly steer the call if they're not constantly thinking about what's next, what's next, what's next. And that's holding a lot of people back from improving at sales. If you watch my video on how to learn skills, this is that last step of mastery, is the unconscious competence, where you're just good at something unconsciously because you have the reps, because you've seen the variables, and because you trust yourself to just let go of the specifics of having to actually think through the process of what am I asking next? Where am I going next? What's the next step in the frame? If you trust yourself, if you learn to let go, after you've gotten some practice, after you've actually kind of memorized the frame, if you do have a script, memorize your script, then you can let go, trust yourself to steer off and come back, right? A lot of times sales calls are just going to free flow, right? I don't even want to say a lot of times. I'll say every time. They should just free flow. Scripts are for actors, and they only work when the person on the other side of the table is also using a script, which prospects are not. So although you have a framework, although you have a set of questions that you do want to get through, you're not going to jump from one to the next, to the next, to the next in a perfect order, expecting them to answer back perfectly for you to ask your next question. It's not a straight line. It's mostly going to go like your first question, and then we're going to derail for a bit. We're going to go up here. We're going to probe. We're going to get understanding. We're going to ask questions based off of what they just said until we get full understanding. Then we're going to come back to our next part of the frame. And then that same thing is going to happen. Then we're going to come back to our next part of the frame. And what you need to do if you want to get really, really good at probing is trusting yourself to be able to steer the conversation back as and when needed. Once you learn to do that, you'll crush on your offers, right? And again, the way you do that is, first, you do have to memorize your framework. I don't think people necessarily need to have a specific script. For certain offers, there are certain questions that you will need to ask for that offer, but you don't necessarily need a specific word for word script. You do want a frame, meaning the bones of what you're going to go through, as in, first we're going to understand the problem, then I'm going to understand the goal, the desire, then we're going to go through the solutions they've tried in the past, something along those lines. Some people have different orders for how they like to go about it. You will have some kind of frame like that. Then you need to practice going through that frame, practice allowing that frame to be derailed with multiple different variables. Some prospects, you're going to ask the question and they're going to answer it in full detail, really well, give you exactly what you want to hear. Some prospects, you're going to ask the question, they're going to give you a one word, one sentence, very vague answer. Some prospects are going to challenge why you're even asking the question. You have to learn to deal and stay within your frame through all of those variables. And then once you've gotten some experience and practice with that, again, you can let go and just focus directly on the prospect, focus fully on what they're saying, focus on service, focus on helping this person to the utmost of your abilities, and let go, right? Letting go of the outcome. A lot of people They grip onto their frame because they think that if they let go of the frame, they won't make the sale and they won't make money. That's where the wrong thinking goes, is that you're there so focused on the end result. You're so focused on making the money. You're so focused on closing the deal. And whatever we focus on, we gravitate towards, right? It's like when you're driving, you don't want to focus on like right in front of you, the lane right there, because you're going to probably drift out the lane. You want to look ahead, right? You want to kind of look ahead in the car. You don't want to focus on where you are, right? So what you focus on, you gravitate towards. If you're focused on the sale, if you're focused on the end of the call, you're going to skip things to get there quickly. It's just how we are as human nature. It's how our brains work. So all you need to do is focus on the prospect, focus on them, and it'll be easier for you to catch the things that come up. You won't find when you review your calls and you look back and you say, hey, how did I miss that? Oh my gosh, the prospect was saying this. How did I skip over that? Why didn't I probe into that? Why didn't I ask what they meant by that? Why didn't I dig in there? You're going to not have those problems anymore if you do these things. Hopefully that helps. I'll see you guys in the next video.